By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how not to be nervous during a job interview. And I know there's already a lot of other content out there on Google and on YouTube on this exact same topic. And I've watched all of those videos, and I can promise you that my content in this video is going to be totally different than what is covered in all those other videos. So you're going to learn new ways to actually not be nervous in a job interview. And if you want more interviewing tips like this so you can ace your next interview and get your next job offer, make sure you subscribe down to this channel below. So first we need to talk about the three main reasons that you may actually get nervous during a job interview. And then I'm going to give you specific techniques or tricks you can use to actually address that nervousness depending on the reason why you're actually getting nervous during your job interview. And this is something that not a lot of other videos and content will cover. So the first reason as to why you may be nervous during a job interview is because you're just so excited about the opportunity. Maybe this is your dream job for a company that you've always wanted to work for, and it just really means a lot to you, and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Now, we need to be able to differentiate between whether this is something that makes you nervous or if you're just really excited. Now, let's think about a time when you were about to go on something a little scary like a roller coaster, but it's still pretty safe. So even though you know you're probably not going to get hurt going on this roller coaster, when you're standing in line about to get on the ride, you're going to feel a little bit of nerves, or something is going to be going through your body. And it's hard to differentiate if it's nervousness or if it's excitement, because to your body, you're going to treat it the exact same way. And so potentially you may be feeling nervous for your interview, but really that's just you feeling excited. So if you are sitting in the interview and you're about to start and you can feel this level of excitement or nervousness just because of the pressure that's at stake for this type of job, one of the easiest ways to address this is to actually speak it out loud. And I would even go as far to say to just tell your interviewer right off the bat that you are feeling a little bit nervous and excited just because you are so amped up about this opportunity. And this is a job or company that you've always dreamed about working for, and that's why you may be feeling this way. Normally, if an interviewer hears you express this feeling, as long as you actually don't bomb your interview or you don't show yourself as overly nervous and excited, they're just going to assume that this is you talking about how excited you are about this opportunity, which is only going to help your candidacy. Now, the second way to address this level of excitement or nervousness, if you're feeling it during an interview, is to remind yourself that there's going to be a lot of other jobs that you can get that are going to be just as good and maybe even better than this one. Now, even if this is your dream company for your dream job, in the worst case scenario, if these interviews don't pan out just because you were a little too nervous, then don't worry, it's not the end of the world. Usually you can just reapply for this company again next year, and you'll already be in their ATS system. You would have already figured out what questions they're going to be asking you, and so you're going to be performing a lot better the second time around. I work at one of the top companies in the tech industry space that's notoriously known for being difficult to get into. And I can tell you that a lot of my colleagues, including myself, a lot of us had to interview and apply to work at this company 2 or 3 times before even getting in. So that should just give you a level of comfort knowing that not everybody gets into their dream company off the first chance. Now, the second big reason why you may actually be nervous during a job interview is if you're showing up unprepared. Kind of like walking in to take a test at school that you know you didn't study for. It's never a really good feeling. So how can we address and/or prevent this type of nervousness? Well, the first one is pretty obvious, and that's just to actually practice and make sure that you're well prepared and rehearsed for your interviews. If you want a video to give you a little bit of tips and tricks as to how to practice effectively for a job interview so you can actually improve your interviewing skills, please check out this video that I've got up on the channel. And aside from obviously practicing a little bit more, if you truly feel like you're not prepared for this upcoming interview and you know you're going to be nervous and a little off your game because you didn't have time to practice and prep, do not be afraid to reschedule your interview. Just contact your recruiter and tell them that you need a little bit more time to prepare for this interview because you want to put your best foot forward and you really care about this position. Moving your interview 1 or 2 days back is not going to make a huge difference for the company, but for you, that could be all the difference that you need to actually crush these interviews. And the third reason as to why you may get nervous during a job interview is if something goes wrong or something actually throws you off your game, and because of this unknown factor or how you may be feeling about your current performance in the interview, that may cause you to get more nervous and throw you a little bit off your game even more. Well, the first way to actually deal with this potential type of nervousness is to make sure that you always have really strong stories to fall back on. Make sure that you have fully memorized and understand all of the projects that you've done in your recent roles. Now, this way, no matter what type of question you may get, even if it's a question you've never heard before or a question you didn't get to prepare for, you will always have a story that you can fall back on. Make sure your stories are well rehearsed using the STAR method, and all you would need to do is adapt the situation part of your answer to the question that you're being asked. So maybe they throw you off with a question like, tell me about a time when a weakness actually became one of your strengths. This is a super uncommon question and one that I've never heard in an interview, but I know that if I was asked this, all I would do is think about all of the different stories and projects that I've done in my past and for different roles, and then I would pick the one where I think I had to learn something on the job or as I was doing the project, and then spin that in a way to actually answer this question. Now, let's say you're in an interview and you were asked the question and you know that you didn't give the best interview answer and you know that you didn't answer that question particularly well. That's okay. Just try to forget about it as much as possible, stay in the moment, and just tell yourself that even though you may not have answered that last question correctly, number one, you don't actually know if the interviewer thought that was a bad answer. Maybe you are just being a little too hard on yourself. And number two, there's going to be a lot of other interview questions that are going to come up during this conversation. And so even if you may have missed one question, you can really make up for it if you really crush these next upcoming interview questions during that same interview. So one bad question is not going to make or break your overall candidacy. And lastly, even if something does go wrong during your interview and you're starting to feel nervous, make sure that you stay grounded with your body posture and make sure that you are not showing any physical or visible signs that you're actually getting nervous. Confidence comes from more than just the words that you're saying. It's all about your tonality and your body language. Don't let the interviewer ever feel that you are nervous, even if you feel like the interview isn't going well. For me, I know that I have a tendency to bounce my knee up and down when I get very excited or when I get nervous. And I know that if I do that, it's actually going to make me come across as even more nervous to the interviewer. So try to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground and have a very good body posture no matter what is happening during that interview. Alright, so now you know the possible reasons as to why you may actually be getting nervous during a job interview. And once you can figure out which one is causing this amount of nervousness, I've given you all the tools and tips that you need to actually address those nerves so that you don't get so nervous during the interview. Now, a quick disclaimer. Following these tips is not going to totally eliminate your nervousness. In fact, being a little nervous before an interview is a good thing, right? Not all nerves and feelings are created equal. And so don't associate being nervous or excited for your job interview with a negative feeling. This just means that you're really excited about the opportunity, and it's a good sign, because if you weren't nervous, and if I was an interviewer and I couldn't tell that someone was nervous and they just seemed like really relaxed, almost like they didn't care about getting the job, it may actually hurt your chances more. So being nervous is definitely a good thing, but if you're worried about being too nervous, you now have all the tools that you need. And if you want more helpful tips, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.